Hi, in this video I'm going to extend the ideas that we developed in my first video on building magic squares. We're going to use a 5x5 grid, and we're going to develop methods of placing the numbers 1 to 25 in order in the grid to make a magic square. Now remember, the basic method that we used was to imagine that there's copies of this magic square tiling the plane. So this basic magic square is surrounded by identical copies, so that if we move off this magic square into a square in one of the other copies, we can immediately move to a corresponding equivalent square in this magic square. So let's build one of the ones that I built in the first one by placing a 1 here and moving an upward right diagonal move. This diagram here shows the square where I'm starting with a 1 and that direction of movement. So we'll do this fairly quickly. 1, 2 is off the square, corresponding square is there. 3, 4, 5, I'm blocked. The blocking move was 1 down, 6, 7, 8. I'm off the square, there's the corresponding square. Again, that's the corresponding square. 11 is blocked by the 6, so I move down 1 square and then continue with my upward to the right diagonal movement. That square there corresponds to this square, and it's got an 11 in it, so the 16 is blocked. We move down 1 square. 17, 18, and so on. Blocking there, 21, 22, and so on. And then the final move, 25, would be there and blocked down 1 square to get back to the 1. Now it's this final move, this putting down 25, going back to the beginning, 1 square down to get back to the beginning, that holds the clue to the blocking move and how to work it out if we don't start with a 1 here. You'll notice that this 25 is diametrically opposite. If we consider this as the center on the opposite ends of a diameter, diametrically opposite really comes from a circle in the diameter and would be at opposite ends of the diameter. So a diametrically opposite square is on the opposite side to this square through the center of the grid. Let's start with a different position for the number 1. So I'm going to choose this square. Only 2 possible directions in movement. I can go down left diagonally or up right diagonally. I'm going to choose to go down left diagonally. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, when I'm off the board, corresponding position, and now I'm blocked. So what's my blocking move going to be? Starting in this position, the diametrically opposite square is this. So we'll be finishing with a 25 here, and to move back to this 1, we would be 2 squares diagonally up to the left. That's my blocking move. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocked, 2 squares up diagonally to the left would be this square here. So my 6 goes in here. I continue. 7, 8, 9, 10. Now I'm blocked. The blocking move, 2 up to the left. There's where my 11 goes. 12, 13, 14, 15. And I'm blocked because that's the 11. Blocking move, 2 up to the left. That's there. My 16 goes there, and I continue. Blocked again, 2 up to the left, 21 goes there. blocked again, 2 up to the left, and I'm back where I started. There's a magic square with the 1 starting in that position, travelling down diagonally to the left. Let's do one more. Hi, in this video I'm going to develop some of the ideas that we discovered in my first video on how to construct magic squares, and I'm going to concentrate on this 5x5 magic square. In the first video you saw how I built up a magic square using a 1 in the middle of the top row. One of the moves we made to fill in the numbers 1 to 25 was an upward diagonal move to the right, with the rule that there is a tiling of these magic squares which repeat over the whole surface of this plane, so that when I move off the magic square and would be putting a 2 in there, I place it in a corresponding square. Moving off the square, that's the corresponding square. And the other idea that we developed was when we got stuck, we moved 1 square down. Now, what we're going to do in this video is to explore what happens when we don't have a 1 in the middle of the top row, if we put the 1 elsewhere, and also what happens when the diagonal move is replaced by a different move, so that we can maybe move diagonally in a different direction. And the diagram that I have on the right over here is going to help to show the directions and the places that we are allowed to put the 1. Now, notice this last move, the 25, to get back to this 1, in effect you move 1 square down. And that's the corresponding square. And that was the blocking move that I'm using here, 1 square down. And that's true of starting, say for instance, in this square, where the diagonal move could be this way or this way. We're not allowed, if we put a 1 here, to do a diagonal move in this direction. The blocking move, if I was to start here, let me just wipe this other one out and start with a 1 in this square. Starting with a 1 here, and let's choose to go upward diagonally to the left. That's this arrow here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're blocked. Now, if we continue in a sensible way, the 25 will appear diametrically opposite to that 1. It'll appear in this square here. Diametrically opposite just means travel to the center square and continue in the same direction, same distance, and the square you land on is diametrically opposite. So that's where we'd end up. Now, when we're blocked, which we are at the last square, to get to this square from here, that's the corresponding square. We would be going 2 squares up and 1 to the right to get to this square. So to get from 25 back to the beginning, 1, 2 squares up, 1 square to the right, that's the blocking move. So 3, 4, 5 blocked, we now go 2 squares up and 1 to the right and continue in the upward to the left diagonally move, the diagonal move that we were using. So there's 9, there's 10, blocked again, so we go up, what was it? I've forgotten. Up 2 to the right and 1 to the right. So blocked, 1, 2, 1 to the right. There's 11. That's where I start now with my upward to the left diagonal move. 14, 15. there's really 11 in there, so this is blocked. So we go up to 1 to the right, which is this square. 16, 17, 18 would be in here, 19, 20, blocked. Up to 1 to the right, 21, 22, 23, 24, and finally 25. There it is, blocked again, so we'd go up to 1 to the right to end up where we started. So the blocking move, really, how do you get from the diametrically opposite square back to that beginning square? That's your blocking move. So this is a magic square. All rows, all columns will add up to 65, including the two leading the leading diagonal and the other diagonal, all add up to 65. Let's use now this square here, say, and we'll put a 1 in here, and let's go down diagonally 1 square to the right. So that's this arrow here. The blocking move this time, there's where 25 will appear. We should end up with a 25 in there. To get from there back to the beginning, 2 squares to the right. So starting with a 1 here, our blocking move would be 2 squares to the right. And the direction I've chosen is down right diagonal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my first block. So I go 2 squares to the right, 6, 7, and so on. Blocked again, 2 squares to the right. $11 in there, that corresponds to this, so I'm blocked. 2 squares to the right would take me to this one. Blocked again, 2 squares to the right. And there's your 25. And that's blocked, 2 squares to the right, and you're back where you started. So again, a magic square, this time different direction rule and 1 in a different place. Now this diagram, which is a very easy diagram to remember, tells you precisely the squares you're allowed to start with a 1 in if you're using a 1 square diagonal move, and the arrows show you the directions that are possible. So you cannot start with a 1 with a diagonal move in any of the corner squares or the central square. In the top 3 here, these 3, and these 3, there's only 2 diagonal directions you can move. These 4 squares, there are 2 opposite directions, up diagonally 1 square to the right, down diagonally 1 square to the left. And these 4 squares, all 4 diagonal directions are possible in these 4. So let's move on to the knight's move and see what the position is with the knight's move. So let me explain this diagram, which looks a lot more complicated than the diagonal diagram. And let's take this square in the middle. What the diagram does is codes the information of possible directions if you start with a 1 in here. So if this portion is shaded, which it is, then it's possible to do that sort of a knight move, 2 squares up, 1 to the right. And this is shaded, we can do 2 squares to the right and 1 up. This is not possible. This move would be 2 squares to the right and 1 down. Now it's not possible to start with a 1 in there using this knight's move in that direction. Can't do it. Can't build a magic square. It is possible to do this, 2 squares down, 1 to the right. Possible to do this, 2 squares down, 1 to the left. Not this one, 2 squares to the right, 1 down. This is okay, and this one is okay. So this tells me exactly which directions I can go in. And remember, the blocking move is always how do I get from the diametrically opposite square back to this one. So in this case it would be up one square down, being the corresponding square to that. So given that information, let's see if we can now construct a magic square. And let's start with this left-hand square here, and let's put a 1 in here. And let me choose the fact that this is shaded, which would mean 2 squares up, 1 to the left. So I'm going to make a move 2 squares up, 1 to the left, and fill in the numbers 1 up to 25. When I'm blocked, the diametrically opposite square is this. To get from there to this square basically is 1 square to the right. So blocking move 1 square to the right. So let's go 2 squares up, 1 to the left. That would be this square. 2 up, 1 to the left. There's my first block, and we said the block would be diametrically opposite back to this square. That's 1 square to the right. So 6, 7, 8. Now this one corresponds to that. And I'm blocked. So 1 square to the right. That's 12 there. Shouldn't have done that. This square is blocked. 1 square to the right. Again blocked. 1 square to the right. And now I'm at 25. I'm blocked, so 1 square to the right, and I'm back where I started. So there's our magic square starting with a 1 in this square, and because this portion shaded, that showed me I could go 2 up, 1 to the left.